Hello, Thursday. We're going to start in the comment section and end in the comment section with a comment by Maxwell. Yeah, a bit of an intro thing here. I think we're down to about 250 people watching all. Actually, I think it works out. There's about 200 to 250 people that watch the video presentation every day, and about 50 that take it on audio. So we're down to 250, 300 people. So that's a nice little community. So we can get a bit chatty if we wanted to. Because I was going to ask, well, you know, I push these things out. Is there anything that you particularly want to change, to get a bit better? And all that sort of stuff. Oh, who knows? I know if you really wanted something, you'd say anyway. But if you think there's some improvements I can do, because I can do things, but obviously I'm not going to just change things just for you. Anyway, I'll get on with Maxwell. It was a very good comment, and I think basically I've put out enough stuff that every now and then we can have a good chat about it. So if this comes to being a bit more of a chat over a few days, I'll be well happy with that. It's when it's all chat, and I think we need lots and lots of information, which is, I know, a bit boring. And then every now and then we can have a chat about it, because I've actually been thinking over the last month, 6 weeks, great macro things have been clunking around up here, and I've got some pretty interesting ideas going on at the moment, so you probably have as well. Anyway, let's get to Maxwell, who gives the opening couple of lines of I'm going to say my bit, I'm not sure about it, I know you say your bit and you're not sure about it, but let's just discuss it. But you can tell by the rest of the comments that Maxwell puts in that it's not just this is my opinion. It's good, chatty, well balanced, it's just the sort of thing that I'm sure we'd all like, a decent conversation based on a good amount of knowledge. Can't ask for anything more, can we, really? So I was answering the comment to Maxwell, and halfway through decided I'm going to make this into a video anyway. So I'm going to have to go between his comment and my answer to start with, and then I can let it flow. And if things do flow, this might go on for a little while, but we'll see, because I haven't got that long. It's Thursday morning. Okay, first, housing isn't really the be-all and end-all for America. Before we go all weak at the knees over our big box out in the fake countryside, known as suburbia, we used to be an energy country. I'm sure by now you've read statements about... Yeah, okay, I'll tell you... City and other various analysts have projected forward and said that with the baby frack, the US should be able to pump a lot more oil and will be running on an awful lot more gas. Now, there are two things going here. I've got to try and separate them. The suburbia thing. If it doesn't work out that way, and the number here is 14 million barrels a day, which is, to my mind, pie in the sky. It's madness, but it's one of these things we just don't know what they might find and be able to pump. But I don't think it will come to that. But if it does come to that, then suburbia is saved. But if suburbia is... that's what it'll be needed to save suburbia. Suburbia, US style, will not run on European price of gas at the pump rates. It just won't. The whole thing will collapse. It won't be able to run on $8 a barrel, which is $8 a gallon, which is what we pay. We could not run suburbia here, and you cannot run suburbia there. So you better hope that City's right, and some analysts are right, that gas is going to come pouring out of the ground for decades, and there's going to be progressively more and more oil sucked out of the underground America. Now, I said something vaguely more interesting than that. I said, let's face it, the energy needs to flow or those boxes are looking very silly. That's just a sum up of what I just said about suburbia is not viable on $8 a gallon at today's rates, you know, inflation rates. So in the future it might be the equivalent $26 a barrel, gallon. The US is in a better position, this is me writing now, than Europe, for example, or Japan. You know, we haven't got these natural resources. Europe hasn't, Japan hasn't, and most other countries just don't have them. With a lot of energy to burn, the US has, but strangely, I doubt it will do them much good, or do you in America much good. In a strange way, it would be better for the world, maybe, if the US found itself very energy constrained like everyone else. Then maybe, just maybe, the world would get together and sort out some policies that would be in the interest of all the people of the world. This me superpower, you weak fuck politics is revolting. So I'll work back from that again to what I wrote there. This me superpower, that's the United States, me superpower, you weak fuck, the rest of the countries in the world, it's a revolting way to do things. If we really think that we're going to get some advanced civilization going, whenever, that has got to go out of the window. Me superpower, you weak fuck, is just no way of going around things. And I think the only way that things can be leveled off enough so people like the United States will talk to other countries on an eye-to-eye, we are all people sort of basis, would be if the United States does run extremely low on energy and has to deal. Then you've got the bifurcation, the two-way split. The United States can use its superpower and rip the energy from the rest of the world like a big bully, or it can come to the table and go, look, we have got a huge world energy problem. The only way in a civilized manner that we can get through this is in some way to share it out equitably. Now, I know that's pie in the sky, and it just will not happen. It's much more likely that they'll use their me big fuck give me energy. But you can see what I'm talking about. It would be nice if the United States it wouldn't use its superpower status to say energy is something that we need to share out more equitably. It's just not going to say it, isn't it? Is it? So I'm saying that it may be better for the world if the US didn't find lots of energy, its suburbia did start crumbling, and it had to go to the rest of the world and sort something out. But we know human nature, and that isn't going to happen. Doesn't matter whether the energy's there or not, really. That's my negative thing on it. Right, let's see if I can go through. I'll go from my answer now, or this is just going to get too long. Technology. This shows how things work in the real world, reactive and proactive. Strangely, I don't think technology is changing much, and leaders who noted this could start to get ahead of things. Okay. Reactive and proactive in the political world. Now, let's put aside all we know about the basic money-bought corruption of politics. Put that aside and just imagine politics as a bit more normal. It works in a reactive or proactive way. Now, a proactive way is often called a bit socialist because the politicians kind of channel things to say it looks like energy. We're going to run out of energy. We are going to need a new grid system to work for more electricity for battery cars, and to power that we are going to need nuclear power stations or lots and lots of wind farms or solar or whatever it is to power it, and basically the only outfit that can do that is government. But that whole thing would be called, I'm calling it, proactive. Or you can go, well, we don't really know whether we're going to be able to dig up lots of energy or not, so just let's see, and we'll deal with whatever happens. And I call that reactive. Now, America likes to be reactive because it thinks it's so great that it can do these reactive things because it's not socialist, it's capitalist. And in a way, obviously, it does work best because the capitalist goes, we can exploit this because of this. This is the way it's turned out over the last few months, and it looks like it's going to last this extra few months. So, and it is absolutely the right system to react to whatever is. Pure capitalism is the way to go. But it's very sharp, spiky up and down. The more European way of going about it proactively is very much more slower. And I'll just leave it there. There are some people, for various reasons, think one's better and the other's better at different times. But what I'm saying here is technology. This shows us how things work in the real world. I don't think technology, I do not think technology is changing that much. In fact, I think technology has got the handbrake absolutely cranked on. We've got our iPods and whatever, and that's it. There's stuff coming out of the internet, but that's it. The rest is cars and aeroplanes and okay, there are a few advances in medical science, but really compared to where we've come from, the technology has utterly stopped. And that is a crucial thing for us to get in our minds for evaluating what is going on. You can either agree and disagree with that, but I think it's very important to get it right in our minds and the politicians' minds, what is actually going on. Because if they think, which I'm sure they do, politicians, and I'm sure you do, mostly, that technology is bounding away because you haven't worked out how to use iPad 3 yet, it's wrong. Because this gives you the idea that you can only be reactive. Where what I'm saying is it's just frippery on the edges. This beeps and bops in little boxes is stuff nothing compared to what technology used to be coming online regularly. Technology has basically stopped, which means we can, with a bit more thought and not as much thought as used to be necessary, we can get proactive. We can get ahead of these things. We can get ahead of understanding and projecting things out into the future a bit, that we can be proactive and smooth things out. Obviously taking into account capitalism and socialism, what they're basically called, but we'll come to that in a while. Inflation. Okay. Yeah, okay. Inflation. A bit of a straw man, but a lot of people had hit me with that anyway. No, inflation is not heading down forever. You know, we had those charts that go like that, and obviously they're not going to go do submarine and go down to -10, -20 and -132. But there's no reason at all that I can see why inflation is going to hit the bottom and then go back up again. Why would it? And when I say why would it, you've got to say why. Because I'm going to, if you listen, I'll either say it explicitly or going through everything I'm talking about here, it should be explicit why it won't hit the bottom and go up. This is, okay, no, I'll leave it there because I can go on about this hyperinflation and things, but that gets me annoyed. I'm not saying hyperinflation can't happen. Obviously it can. But it's just not worth talking about. Okay, inflation. No, it doesn't. But it'll stay low forever. And that my forever was just to balance out the thing. Obviously it won't be forever. But as far as we can project forward, inflation's not going anywhere and deflation's not going anywhere. Dividends will stop rising. Okay, because these are all from Maxwell's comment. Dividends will stop rising because it's Marx. It's Marxian economics. You can't have dividends rising forever when the percentage of output profits to labour is going down, because there won't be the clients, the customers, to buy your goods. It just can't be. So no, the rich fucks will get screwed by not in the classic tragedy of the commons. For each business, it's best to screw your workers. But as a global, and it's a global thing now, if all companies in all countries are screwing their workers, eventually there are there's no customer for the output of the goods, and there is a demand side contraction, crushing, and that's what we've got now. Huge global demand side contraction. Okay, return to labour, and I went into that. Okay, public and private, we went into. The graphs for public is going down at the moment, private is going up, and I say, well, we'll see how we go. And we get back to the more American capitalist way and the European socialist way, and we've got Schumpeterian destruction. Now, if you don't know Schumpeterian destruction, I'm in a bit of trouble, but basically Schumpeter said that that's what capital is. It's survival of the fittest, to an extent, where if you fail, you fail. But that's not what the United States has got now. There's an awful lot of non-Schumpeterian destruction, because you've got the capitalist system in place to be up and down, but when you get down and there should be a bust, they're being rescued, they're being bailed out, which is not European socialism. It's like capitalism without the trampoline at the bottom of the bust, where then you bounce back up. It's kind of capitalism with a boing, blah, and it's taken all the life out of capitalism. It's no sort of a system at all. So, but obviously public employees don't have that Schumpeterian destruction. You don't get a social worker sacked because there are no people to social work anymore. There are always people to social work. Anyway, capital in banks, 8%. Now, I think there was a bit of confusion again here. I'll read what I say. The 8% is arbitrary, but the fact that, I think, again, there's a misunderstanding. The 8% is capital ratio, not reserve requirement. There's a good reason that capital requirement could be 50% and the reserve ratio could be 20%. I'll leave it there without getting, but don't please get confused with the two. They're different. But something needs to be done with the banking system. Will I get to the banking system? I hope so. If not, remind me. That's banks, that's 8%. Oh, I see. Yeah, now I'm copying and pasting into my comment. This comment ends, am I wrong? And the answer is yes, because it's the implication was that the 8%, where I said they were taking the capital out, that the company was paying dividends. In other words, the capital was going out of the company. If it stayed in the company, it would still be owned by the equity shareholders. Now, the equity is the 8%. That's the capital. That's the one that's being dealt with to make that number. But I think I'll quickly run through the importance of this. They're the owners of the company. They own the company, like that, what's his name, Gutenberg or something, that owns Facebook. He owns most of it because he invented it, and all the shares are his. I don't know how it goes, but let's just say it's that way. I'm sure lots of people have bought in. But he owns the company. It's his company. Let's say it's a one-man band. It might be Facebook, but he owns the whole lot. It's his company. All the equity is his. So if the company pays all the profits to him, well, all he knows is if nothing is used in R&D before it's paid to him, if he, as the owner, says, give me all the money and don't do any R&D, he won't have a company for long. So he leaves the money in as R&D, but all the extra, after all the things are paid out, are his, because he's the owner of the company. The owners of the bank, the equity shareholders of the bank, are the owners of the company. They have the right to say, give me all the money. But the managers are paid to manage the bank and can say, no, we'll just hold that back for the moment. We're not going to pay out dividends. Yeah. And then so you've got the owners of the company, which are the equity holders. A lot of people think you buy shares in a company and somehow you're not the owner of the company. You are the owner of the company when you buy shares. On top of that, or underneath that, are the bond holders, which lend you, the equity shareholders, they lend you money for your company. And the bondholders lend you money for your company, so the managers of the company can use the bondholders' money. Anyway, I'll move on quickly. And is it bad that MIT grads were going to Wall Street and now they're not? It's not because the greedy owners are taking the money out now. Okay, this is when we have Irish and Italian. When have the Irish and Italian economies been good? But this is Italy's in between. It's semi-civilized, but Ireland wasn't. Ireland, but yeah, I'll go on for ages. How long have I got? I haven't got time. You've got agrarian societies where nothing was wasted, and it just turned over. If you had 27 kids, they were never unemployed. 27 kids could work on a small farm and there would always be something to do. All right, you never got to 27 kids, so that was never pushed. But you see what I mean? There was nothing, nobody was unemployed and nothing was ever wasted. Right down to the smallest, nothing was wasted. It either went to the pigs and then the pig shit was used. Nothing was wasted. That was the old system. That's how Ireland basically was. Italy's halfway between, and we modern people, let's say, I'm not modern, but you modern people, it's a completely different mentality and way of doing things. It's a shite, cretinous system where people can now be unemployed and we waste vast amounts of stuff. We've come from a system where we call it the economies have never been good. They were never good, the economies. You lived in pig shit, but maybe they were happy or not. That's debatable. But you were never unemployed and you never wasted a thing. And now we've got vast amounts of unemployment and huge amounts of waste. And that is the new system. And that's another thing, if the global world could get together and do something about that, because it's brain dead. Okay. Is there really a big apocalypse coming? No, I don't think so. They've shown on the money side that you get there's this deflationary force. This is my overall thing, maybe of 4 years, that I haven't changed at all. There is huge deflationary forces in the world. Okay, should I go through capital as well? Okay, these deflationary force, and the central banks have found that they can keep up the deflationary force from being totally destructive. If it was an inflationary force and the central bank had to keep it down, I'd be, ooh, that could get out of control. But it's general deflationary force because it's debt destruction, and the central banks only have to keep it up, and they can keep it up by printing money. So my money is on that deflationary force staying in, because there'll always be pressure on debt destruction because people aren't going to be able to pay their debts. And my money's on the central bank being able to print money and learn how to put it into the right places to stop deflation getting terribly out of control. But will it knock it up and make it inflation? No, it can't. Not with all these debts out there, basically. Right, okay. Oil, we don't know. EROI is noted there, which is hyper important. But that's one of the main things, obviously. If it was just this money thing, I think I would project out 10 years and 20 years that the pressures had come on, and the central banks, I'm not saying they're going to get it right every day and it's going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be well bumpy. But I think they're learning very quickly, these central banks, what they can do. It's worrying me terribly, as I said, if anything, is that the central banks are being so important on the capitalist side for the capital markets. But even that, I think they could learn to do. It would mean that the banks slim down and the central banks do an awful lot of work that the banks used to do. But I think they could get away with it. But this oil thing is a bother. And if it's not just think America, they might dig up some more oil and gas. Super duper, no trouble, but I don't think it's going to do the world any good. But the rest of the world isn't. And the rest of the world wants to be like America. And the rest of the world that wasn't like America, that's coming from this place where you couldn't be unemployed and you didn't waste anything. How many? 3 billion people are moving out of that system to the system where you can be unemployed, and if you're not unemployed, you just basically consume and waste a huge amount of stuff. And that bothers me. The oil, if it was just the money thing, I'd go, cool, I'll go and dig in my garden. I think it's going to be well bumpy. But this energy thing, there is not enough energy to keep this world going as it wants to be. That's the thing. The world wants to go into this consuming, wasting system. And there is not enough energy out there for it. There will be in some places in the world, fortunate places, if they want to think they're fortunate by living in a stupid wasting system. But for the rest of the world that wants to be there, there is going to be a lot of disappointment. And this internet technology that has connected the whole world is going to have to watch other parts of the world not get what they want. So there's going to be an awful lot of upset. So, on the bottom line is, if it was just money, I'd say they'd probably pull through. But the combination of dodgy money and dodgy energy, and all these people that are now here and wanting stuff that they're not going to get, that's the bit that I don't like. Anyway, this has probably gone on quite long enough. And obviously, all comments welcome. And I'll try and keep the comments going. See how we go anyway. Thanks for listening. Bye.